there! Today we're going to be making meringue kisses. This is a gluten-free recipe and it makes a nice little cookie and they keep really well. Anyway, we'll get started. We're starting with 8 egg whites that are room temperature, and we're going to beat them until they're in the soft peak stage. So once the egg whites have whipped to a certain degree, we're going to add sugar to this, and this is 8 egg whites, so I'm adding 2 cups of natural sugar to it, and then as we progress with the recipe, we're going to add a tablespoon of cornstarch and 2 teaspoons of white vinegar, and along with that, towards the end, we will also add vanilla. And then I have freeze-dried raspberries here that are from Trader Joe's that have been ground in a food processor and then sifted through a fine sieve, so that we're going to add this to part of the meringues at the end, so that we'll have 2 different colored meringues. Alright, so we'll continue with the beating. I'm going to scrape down the edges here a little bit. It's almost to the point of being ready to add the rest of the ingredients. Let's see where we're at here. Almost. Not quite, but almost. A little bit more. It's actually really quite nice. This is kind of a quick little treat to make up, but what takes the time is the baking, because you bake it at a really low temperature between 225 and 250. Okay, I'm going to add the vanilla, the cornstarch, and the vinegar now at this point. And I'm adding a teaspoon of vanilla. And what the cornstarch and the vinegar does is it stabilizes the egg whites. So we're going to turn this back on. So this is what it looks like now. It's almost like marshmallow. Okay, now I'm going to scoop the meringue with a portion scoop and make them into nice little sized blobs. And they're going to be about 2 inches apart. You can also use a pastry bag with a piping tip for this too, but this is pretty simple to do it this way. And they're pretty this way as well. First tray will go in the oven. Alright, and so I'm using parchment paper. You can also use the silicone mats. I just find using the parchment paper pretty expedient instead of messing around with the silicone mats. This is when I'm going to add the dried raspberries. And I'm going to fold those in. It makes for a really pretty color. Now I didn't mix the raspberry powder in totally so that it's totally incorporated, so there'll be little bright streaks of the red. You can have this recipe, make it halved by using 4 egg whites and 1 cup of sugar, instead of the 8 egg whites and 2 cups of sugar. But these keep really well. If you just put them in a sealed plastic bag, they'll keep for several weeks. So you can use them for different things other than just cookies. Yum. The raspberry flavor comes through really nicely. Recipe again, it's 8 egg whites, and these are from chickens from our own farm, so they're pretty fresh. They have been kept at room temperature for several days because it's always better to use a little bit older egg white than a real fresh egg. So we have the 8 egg whites. And we have 2 teaspoons of vinegar, a tablespoon of cornstarch, and 2 cups of sugar. And then we have the powdered raspberries, which I used about 3 heaping teaspoons of that. This kind of a teaspoon, not a regular measuring teaspoon. And so you beat the egg whites until they're broken in the bowl and getting pretty fluffy and aerated, and then you start adding your sugar slowly. You don't have to add it super slow, but you don't want to add it all at once. And then once it gets to the point where it's in stiff peaks, I forgot to tell you the vanilla too. We have vanilla in it, a teaspoon of vanilla. So anyway, you beat your egg whites until they're broken up and getting pretty fluffy, and then you start adding your sugar, and then you add your vanilla, your cornstarch, and your vinegar to it. And then if you want to do just all pink, you can use the raspberry immediately, or you can break it up so that you have white meringues and pink meringues as well. Anyway, we'll get back to you here soon. And they bake for about 2 hours at 225. Okay, here are meringues that we made last night, these cute little buttons. They were baked at 225 last night, and then when they were done, I turned the oven off, and I left them in there overnight so that they could just dry out further. Anyway, there's a few missing from quality control, but other than that, they were quite tasty with a cup of tea. But this is what it is. They're super simple to make, and they're tasty little treats, and you can do a lot of different things with them. Anyway, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.